Hey guys, welcome back to my colourful country life. It is that time of the month again, time for my completed pages for February video. This month has completely flown right by. I did manage to complete 7 pages this month, a little bit less than my average, but that's okay. I had so much fun with all of them, and off the top of my head, I think they were mostly all fairly detailed pages too. So why don't we move these all to the side and we'll take a look. I'm just going to move my coffee out of the way because we don't want to be spilling that. First up, I'm going to start with our full book colour along for the channel, which is Rooms of Wonder by Joanna Basford. Now, I did unfortunately only manage 1 page in this book this month. I do need to complete a minimum of 3 pages per month in this book if I want to have it finished by the end of the year. It's not going to happen. I am not pushing myself to do that. I am colouring in it as it inspires me, and we will get quite close by the end of the year, which is super exciting, but it won't be completed. I think maybe this time next year we might be able to have it completed, and I can't wait to have my first completed Joanna Basford book too. I have my 2 completed Kirby books. They're the only books I've ever finished, so it'll be nice to have another completed book in my collection from a different artist as well. And the page I coloured this month, and it was the last page I actually coloured this month, is the lock page here. Now this is a colour along up on the channel, and it should be up before this video, I believe. Now every page I have coloured in this book is a colour along up on the channel, and you will find that in my Rooms of Wonder playlist. Now, I adore this page. It is one of the more simpler pages that I've tackled this month, but it's also one of my favourites that I've coloured this month too. And when I think back to the page when it was uncoloured, I did think it was going to be a little uninteresting to colour. It is a repetitive pattern, which I do normally love, but lots of metals, which is not something that tends to interest me. I'm not a fan of colouring a lot of metal work like steampunk and that sort of thing. But boy, was I wrong. I had so much fun. I think by adding so much colour to the page, it did make it a lot more interesting for me. In the past, people have asked me how I choose my colours for my pages, and I do have a couple of videos on that. I'll pop them down in the description box for you if you want to have a look. So sometimes I do plan my pages, and other times I just wing it. When I choose to colour a page, it's because I'm being drawn to it for some reason, and sometimes I can picture it completely coloured in my head. I can either get a completed image in my head of the entire page, or sometimes I get multiple images of the page in different styles, and then other times I can only envision part of the page, or sometimes none of it, but yet I'm still drawn to colour it for whatever reason that might be. But for this page, I knew I wanted to do the green background here. That's all I had in my head at the start. And while I was colouring the green, I was thinking of other colours for the page and where I could place those colours. And I did come up with the dusty pink muted tone here. I was also tossing up between adding some ambers and blues to the page, possibly in this little detail in here where I've used a glitter gel pen. I did also consider a black acrylic paint background too. For the metals, I was actually going to colour them in rose gold instead of the gold and this silver colour. I was going to do all the metals in rose gold, but I thought it'd be a bit too matchy-matchy with the dusty pinks as well, so everything would kind of blend together. It'd be nice and cohesive, but it'd be very blended rather than having anything pop out. So I ended up going with the gold on the outside filigree pattern instead, to contrast with the dusty pink tones. I did leave the inside, so I just did the gold on the outside first because I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was going to do the inside all gold as well, but I wanted to see what the outside bit looked like first and then reassess my thoughts on the page, whether I want to continue with the gold or change it up. And obviously I changed it up. Sometimes you just got to sit back, look at the work in progress and just recalibrate your mindset just to see what would fit best next. And that's what I tend to do when I'm winging a page. So I'll do a little bit, then I'll stop and I'll look at it, and I'll then pick another color that bit, stop, look at it, and then pick another color, rather than having the full plan in my head. And sometimes it can take some really different directions to what I thought it would take originally, but it works. It works in the end. So I ended up going with this sort of silvery blue tin kind of colour, and all the metal tones that I have used on this page did come from my Prismacolor metal combo video, which I will also link as well. So when I finished the main elements, I loved the page so much. I was really worried that adding a background could ruin this page. The only real idea I had or was considering for a background was a paint effect. Now, I don't actually have much of a selection of acrylic paints, of matte acrylic paints. I've got the black, the white. Most of my paints are metallic, including my acrylics, as well as my watercolors. You guys know I love my sparkle. So in my mind, it was either use one of my Artex acrylic markers, which would have worked as well. That was a consideration to match up a nice color with my acrylic markers. It was a fairly big background. Actually, it probably would have worked nicely getting into those little details too. But my other option is my gouache paints. So I've mentioned a few times now I've been trying to learn how to do landscapes with my gouache, and I have been doing this online course. And they're just sitting there, and I thought, well, instead of learning how to do landscapes to add them to the background, I can also add them just as a plain background like I would my acrylic paint. So I thought I would give that a go instead, because I did find a perfect match, which is this wine berry color here. So I found that color in the gouache paint. Now, if I hadn't have found that color, I was going to do a plain black matte acrylic background. So I'm really glad that I did find this color and I went with this choice instead of the black. I think it gives like a really nice velvety touch to the page as well. It looks kind of velvety to me. I was originally concerned that the wineberry paint, the gouache, would match a little bit too closely with the dusty pink color that I'd used with my Prismacolor pencils. I didn't want it to blend in too much. I wanted it to make the image pop out. And I was a little bit concerned, but I thought, let's just do it and see what happens. So I held my breath and put the paint on the paper, and I absolutely loved it. I think it was such a good choice in the end. And I'm so glad I did end up diverting from the black. And I like the matte effect too. Now, I did add this little border in here. It is a little bit messy in some places. I just put some washi tape down to have that little border placed there. And I did that to kind of match with this page, because we do have the border on the opposing page here. Now, if you are following along with this tutorial and you don't have the gouache, you can use a similar color in acrylic paint or acrylic paint pens. If you do use an Artex acrylic paint pen, or even a Posca or any other brand of paint pen, I do recommend a light layer of a pencil underneath. If you just grab a similar toned pencil of any brand and just color a rough layer underneath, this is going to help you get a nice smooth background with your paint pens, and you should be able to do it with just one coat of paint pen too. So on this page, all the pencil work was done with my Prismacolor pencils. The background is the Arteza gouache. I think wineberry was the color I used. And the sparkle on the page is my Pentel Dual Metallic Hybrids. I love how shiny they are. I used the gold, and then I used the silver in here. If I move that slowly, we might catch some light maybe. Oh, here we go. It's actually really dark and miserable today. The autumnal weather has set in. I'm freezing. I'm wearing thermal pants and a jumper, and it's summer is basically just still ending. So it's a little bit chilly here. So anyway, next month, I think we might colour the opposite page here. And then we've got another matching page completed. We've currently completed 44 pages in this book. How many pages are there in there? 70 something, 74, 76, 70 something. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I did count. We've got 44 completed. Now, when I count my pages, I count doubles as singles, and I count the title page here and all these little pages as well. I count all the way up to here. I don't count, all the way up to here. I don't count the colour palette test pages, and I don't count the cover either, the inside covers. So having said that, we are, I think, close to 60% completed. It feels like I've completed more than 60% because as I flip through, mostly at the front though, as I flip through it, it just feels really full. Like pretty much everything from the front here is done. Yeah, so that is Rooms of Wonder by Joanna Bassford for this month. My next page is a buddy colour, and that is in Animorphia by Kirby Roseanne's. And I actually have another buddy colour planned for this book for March as well, so that's exciting. And the page I colour this month is this one here, which is the Stag's double page. And it was a buddy colour with Melissa from Winter 89 Colours. I will pop Melissa's version up on the screen now. Now, I love Melissa's page. I love how she did the two contrasting sides. It's just beautiful. Now, most of you probably know that Animorphia is not one of my favourite Kirby books. In fact, I've had the book for years, and it was only really last year that I finally picked it up and worked on it. I did the this page here, the book belongs to page, last year. My goal for last year was to have no uncoloured books, so I told myself, I either need to colour in this or let it go. It's not a book I tend to reach for, but after seeing Melissa's take on this page, I was actually really excited to get started. I loved her results so much. I thought this is going to be so much fun, and it did not disappoint. It did end up taking around 10 days, I think. Yeah, almost 2 weeks to complete. So it did take a big chunk of my month, but I loved the entire experience. So I used distress inks for the entire background. And actually this sort of deep red colour here is quite similar to the gouache colour. This is more reddish, I think. The wineberry colour was a bit more pinky toned that I used in Rooms of Wonder. I was going to say you could use the distress inks, but I would not recommend it because there's so many tiny details in Rooms of Wonder. Masking that up would be really painful, I think. But, I mean, it's possible, but don't recommend. Do recommend in this book, though. And actually, if you can't tell by the colour of my jumper, it is actually one of my favourite colours as well. And I love how rich and vibrant the distress inks are on these pages. I just layer my colours over and over again till I get that really strong depth of colour too. So after I did the background, I then went in and based pretty much everything, I think everything actually, with my Derwent ink tints, and then I shaded over the top of them with my Prismacolor pencils. I did use a little bit of Pentel Jewel Metallic and also some super golden markers just on the flowers here. So I used I think it's red pink, the Pentel Jewel Metallic, just on the flowers, and the super golden is on the center of the flowers too. And then we've got some white Signo for all these little details as well. I think that's it. Yeah, I have mentioned on the channel before that my goal for this year is now to fill up my books, specifically the ones that currently only have one page coloured in them. So this did fit into that goal, and I will have another double page done in this book in March. So it went from sitting on my shelf for many years to now starting to fill up, and I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I'm glad I didn't just give up on the book and pass it on. I am really enjoying this book, and it is Kirby, so why did I ever doubt? So there's Animorphia. My next buddy colour for the month was a page from Enchanted Creatures by Lolita Aya, and the page we chose to colour is this one here, Dear's Whimsical Antlers, which is page 56. This was a buddy colour with the lovely Lucy from Lucy Colours 2024, and I will pop Lucy's page up on the screen right here. I love the autumnal feel of Lucy's page with the rich colours. They really pop against the white background. And coincidentally, I went with the spring palette, so we went with opposite seasons, which is really cool. This page was fairly quick to colour. I used Arteza Soft Pastels on the background, and then I based all the elements with Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, and then I shaded with my polychromos on top. I did use some super golden markers on the antlers here and on the inside of the flowers, and for these leafy vines on the antlers, I used green jelly rolls, both in glaze and metallic. And hopefully that is capturing that there, and maybe even we can capture some of that super golden while we're at it. There's also black jelly roll glaze just on the bird's eyes. We've got Toolie Art white paint pen for all the dots and all the little details. I added a few extra dots on the page too, mostly just around the flowers here. For the background, I also added both the Imagine Crafts Sheer Shimmer Spray and Sparkle. Sheer Shimmer Spray and Sparkle. That's hard to say. So try saying that 3 times fast. Sheer Shimmer Spray in Sparkle. And then the Kaiser Craft Shimmer Mist in gold as well. Now, it's always hard to capture on camera, but because it's such a dismal day, we might be able to capture some of that background shine. It's always hard to capture on camera, even on Instagram in a photo, but I can see it. It's just a soft, gentle sparkle added to the back of the page. And that is now my 3rd completed page in this beautiful book. That was the first one I did when I reviewed it, just to try out the paper. That's completely done with Prisma pencils. And then this one here, this one is a colour along up on the channel. The other 2 aren't colour alongs, but this one is up on the channel. If you just search for Lolita Aya in my playlist, this will pop up. So that is Enchanted Creatures. And that was all my buddy colours for the month. Now, let's look at Dark Fairy Tales by Kirby Roseannes. This is the new book from Kirby, which is releasing on the 27th of March. So I chose to colour one of the Little Mermaid pages here, which is page 18. So there's a couple that relate to the same fairy tale. If you haven't watched my review, I will tag that. And the pages, the fairy tales are at the back here. Kirby has listed the original fairy tale information and his take down the bottom for each page. But as you can see, there's multiple pages that relate to each fairy tale. So for most of them, it's just the 2 pages opposite each other. But for Little Mermaid, it's also these 2 pages as well. So there's 4 pages based on the same fairy tale here. Now, I cannot explain the happiness I felt colouring this page. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen all my progress pics up on my stories. I was just having so much fun. The joy and excitement a new Kirby book brings to me, I just cannot explain it. It feels like it's been so long since I've had something brand new from Kirby, and I was just, and still am, so absolutely excited to colour in this book. So this is another page this month where I had no real plan. I was kind of just winging it. I knew the concept that I was going for with the contrast in the water and also the skin tones. If you have seen my book review and flipped through for this book, you'll have heard all my ideas and plans for all the different pages in the book. So I started with the water and I did some basing with Derwent Inktense. And then I was just picking up pencils as I went along until I achieved the desired look. I literally just had my pencil case next to me and was just picking out a pencil just until I got the tone right. So there was a lot of layering, which I normally tend to do just a straight blend. But with the water, there was a lot of layering here and it was just really relaxing. I love how I worked through the transition of the water from the clear blue to the creepy murky green as well. I think the transition is quite seamless here. There's no harsh start and finish to the contrasts, and the reflection has this scaly reptilian looking skin. So I went with green, and I then decided to blend in the seaweed, the fish, and even the crown here and keep them all these dark murky colours rather than have the elements stand out. A bit like if you're looking through some dirty murky water. When you look through everything, it just looks kind of dirty and hazy. That was the kind of effect that I was going for with the reflection part of this page. And for the mermaid section, I decided to give her red hair, a bit like Ariel, but more ginger than that fiery red hair we normally see Ariel with. And I also gave her green eyes rather than Ariel's blue. I just thought it would match the page a bit better. I kept the fish in a similar tone to their hair to keep it more cohesive. And then the crown, the hair piece here, it had me stumped for a little bit. I sat there for quite a few hours actually, just scribbling down different colours to use on the headpiece. I was absolutely in love with the page as it was progressing. So the only thing I had left was this sort of headpiece, this crown. Everything else was completed. And depending on the colors that I chose for the crown, it would actually alter the effect of the page completely. I didn't know what direction I wanted the final page to go in. So I'm glad I ended up going with the vibrant reds and purples. I think it does add that pop of color to the page that it needed. The richness of the colors balance out the rich blue-green of the water in the reflection. But I did toss up like using pastel colors. And then I thought about like a light pearl-like color. So it's all like seashells and stuff. So I thought maybe like a nice pearlescent effect. But Kirby has added a lot of shading to the little elements, and they are really little elements. So if I tried to give them a pearl effect using pencils, it kind of would have looked a little bit muddy instead, rather than sort of like this bright effect that I was looking for. And that would have sort of toned it down a bit. So if you can imagine like the reds and purples aren't there and it was sort of like more of a white-based color, for example, it would have sort of all blended. They wouldn't have had that pop of colour. And even if I used pastels, that would have taken it in a completely different direction. I did look up Pinterest for like Ariel and crowns. I was looking at mermaid crowns and I was getting all these like little kids' toys things coming up, just looking for colours. And I wanted to like add in some red to go with the lips. And my daughter's like, what about purple as well? So I thought I'd add in some purples, and I also sort of blended the purples with the reds a bit too to kind of make it all match in together. But overall, I just had a lot of fun colouring in this book. And of course, this first page is an ocean themed page. You guys know I love colouring my ocean themed pages. I'm not quite sure which page I'm going to colour next. There's so many I love in this book, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure if I should do like all the Little Mermaid pages before moving on to another fairy tale. Probably not. I probably should, but I probably won't. It'd be nice to have the whole fairy tale completed, then move on to next. But I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I just feel like jumping from page to page. I love this page here. I'll show you some of my favorites. Where is it? This page here I actually quite like. And there's a couple. I love this page too. This page is going to be awesome. This is a real pretty winter page. This page, another page I can't wait to do. And that page will be last. That page I can't wait for. I'm looking for Pinocchio. There he is. Pinocchio as well. I'm looking forward to doing that one. And I kind of don't mind that one as a favourite. I love all the pages. Well, not all the pages. The other one with the kids, don't love so much. But I love most of the pages. But I do like these two. And Beauty and the Beast with the library. This one looks like a fun one to colour too. Where are you? I feel like I'm doing a whole book flip through here. Another page I love. Where are you, Beauty? Another page. I really like this one too. That's going to be a fun one to colour. Here we go. It's the next two pages. These two, love them as well. Really detailed, so I need a month where I can really sit and focus on the details of the pages. But yeah, there's just so many. I don't think I can finish all the Little Mermaid first. I think I'm just going to be jumping between all the different fairy tales because there's just so much fun stuff to colour in this book. And I know it's not everybody's style, but I'm really enjoying it. And of course, it is going to be a full book colour along up on the channel too. So that was our first page. And that is Dark Fairy Tales by Kirby Roseanne's. The next book is Dream Voyage by Mel Pamini Chatsapanagottu, and this is another new book released just this month. I do have a full review and flip through of this book up on the channel where I talk through all the pages and my suggestions for colour palettes for all the pages as well. And there is a colour along for this page too. So this is the page I decided to colour. It is a full explosion of colour. One thing I love about the fantasy theme is no color is off limits. You can color anything, any color. It's one of the beauties about alien worlds and books like that as well. Just anything goes, really. I did use quite a lot of purple on this page, which is very off-brand for me. It is not a color that I use often. But let's talk through the process. So the background I had planned in my head. I wanted this deep, dark outside color to give the illusion of space, like we're in this little planet here, but there are plenty of others out there in the universe for us to travel to next. So we've come from one world and we're traveling through this world, and then we're going to travel on to the next one. And I transitioned those dark colors down into this sort of sunrise, with the sun rising up from behind the horizon line here. Now, once I coloured the background, I sat back and looked at the page and thought, now what do I do? Where do I go from here? I had used so many different colours just on that background. And this happens to me sometimes when I use purples, as it's not my usual go-to colour. Because this page is super detailed and intricate, there's so much happening on here. I wanted to try to limit the palette for the rest of the page. So I end up using this sort of blue-green combo for the trees and the ground cover and stuff. I just didn't think a normal grass green would work with the tones that I already had on the page. And this page did end up taking me longer than it really should have because of my indecisiveness with the colour palette. In the end, I did decide to stick with mostly purples and teals. I did bring the oranges through to this little creature here, just to help balance the colours on the page, and also so he pops a bit and stands out too. I am really happy with the end result. It is not my favourite page of the month. I think Rooms of Wonder, Dark Fairy Tales, Animorphia, they're probably my top 3 pages for this month, but I am really happy with it, and I'm hoping to colour some more pages in this book in March as well. So for this page, I based all the elements except for the background with Derwent Inktense, and then I went over the top with Prismacolor pencils for shading. The background is completely coloured with Prismacolor pencils. It's been a while since I've done a full Prismacolor background, and hopefully it's a while before I do another one because it takes forever. I do love the effect, but it does take a long time to do a full pencil background. I don't think I've done one for quite a while, if I remember correctly. I have used a variety of different Toolyart acrylic paint pens as well, just to cover black lines and add details. So I've used a few different colours of the acrylic paint pens. I used KJ Designs by Karen Watercolour metallic watercolour paints for the sun, the doors and the fairy wings here as well, and I'll lift that up. I've also used some Jelly Roll glaze on the centre of the doors here too. And the flowers. There's Pentel Jewel Metallic in gold on the sunbeams here, and also on this little creature and the outline of the lamp. So if I move it slowly, we might capture some of that shimmer and shine. And I did manage to break the spine really well in this book, so I got right into the corner there, which is awesome. So that is my very first page in Dream Voyage by Melpomene Chatsapanagottu, and I love my little explosion of colour here. So next we have one of our project books on the channel, and that is Tales from the Forest Kingdom by Hannah Carzon. And this month I coloured the Troll family, and this is up on the channel as a colour along. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but the page from Dream Voyage I just showed you is also a colour along up on the channel. I will link all the colour alongs down below, and all the channels I mentioned today too as well. I think I mentioned in the colour along that when I looked at this page, I imagine it as a cave opening, and the family are either just inside the entrance of the cave or just outside. Now, they do look like they're inside the cave, but I didn't want to do inside the cave, as I thought it might be a little bit uninteresting, a little bit boring to colour with just the greys and stuff, and I wanted to add a bit of colour to the page. So I've gone with outside the cave entrance. So you can see the leaf canopy at the top surrounding the cave opening, and then the mossy rocks down here you have to step through on your way out there. So with that in mind, I did decide to do a green background with my Neocolor 2s. I added in some extra shadow down the bottom here just to give that slight contrast between ground cover and the background. And for the rest of the elements, I based with Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils and added shading with my polychroma. So there's also a touch of super golden markers in bronze on lots of different elements here. So mostly like the jewelry on the headpiece, the belts, and then all these dots down here. And these are all squiggly things coming out of those bits of moss. I don't know what they are, but that was with the bronze super golden marker. And I've also added some stickles on the necklace, so I can't remember what the colour I used was, but it has sort of like a blue glitter to it. Because I did have a little bit of the blue on the page, I probably should have gone with something with a gold glitter instead. And I did put a blue base down underneath too, to bring that colour through, to try and make it more pearl-like, but I think I should have done it a bit more golden instead. But it's a little bit of shine and sparkle on the page. I didn't actually use any acrylic paint pens or gel pens on this page. I did, in my mind, think to sort of white out these black lines. I was going to use like a little pale green to get rid of the black lines on the leaves, but I completely forgot, and I think it looks perfectly fine the way it is, so I'm not going to go back in and do it. I'm going to leave it as it is. So I try to keep a fairly limited palette on this page. I saw this as a family, so I did match their hair and their skin tones. I even matched their clothing as well. So I managed to keep the page mostly to just blues, greens, and then sort of these golden tones and browns as well. So that is our colour along from our project book, Tales from the Forest Kingdom by Hannah Carlson. Next is our other project book, which is Mine Arisa durch Africa by Rita Berman. And I coloured this love heart page here for Valentine's Day. I love this colour palette. I didn't want to use a traditional Valentine's palette for this page. I was thinking of using more traditional colours for the heart design in Small Victories, which unfortunately I didn't get to colour this month. But I do love how simple this is. I love how the colours just pop with the white background. And Prismacolors just blend so seamlessly on this paper. Look at how smooth that blend is. I love it. So this page is actually really simple, really quick. It's basically all Prismacolor pencils. There's some orange sparkle pop throughout that page, and then some white Signo. Is it white Signo or white Touliart? Could be white Touliart. It's in the video. It's in the colour along anyway. So some sort of white pen just to add in some details. I think I added in these little extra little dots around the top and down the bottom here as well. So for any of the full book colour alongs or project books, there are dedicated playlists for the individual books up on my channel, and they include every colour along I've done so far in those books. I can pop the playlist down below too if you'd like, so there's a quick link to it. Okay, lastly, I have something else to show you, and it's from Rita Berman's Land book. Now, I am not including this as a completed page this month, as I technically did complete it years ago, I think. Yeah. It was back when I first got my luminance pencils, because I was testing them out on that page, and I went straight into the book to test them out. So, big mistake. But some of you may remember that I do have a page in this book that I really was not happy with. Last year I did try to fix it, but made it even worse, if that's possible. It has still been on my mind, so I decided to have another go at fixing it. Yes, I know, I am like a dog with a bone. But look, in hindsight, I really should have just left it in its original form. But because this book has my most favourite page I've ever coloured in it, I didn't want to have a page that I really disliked in this book. And I didn't want to remove the page or glue them together. And so this is, everyone's seen this page before, I think. This is my favourite page in the book. And the page I ended up covering up is this one here. So some of you may remember the original form, and then I said I was going to try and fix it, and then I showed you the attempt at fixing, which was worse than the original one. Now I did have a plan, which was sort of a junk journal type of page. I clearly diverted from that plan, but I did use the natural sea sponges from my last haul video. I wet them to soften them up a bit and then dipped them in some white acrylic paint from Kaiser Craft. I was then going to add in some scrapbooking papers, some stamping effects with like a script stamp that I have, but I changed my mind and went with a simple circular border instead. Now, the reason I changed my mind is mostly because it just has a small image kind of plonked in the middle of this page, and I think it would have looked a little bit awkward if I just kind of junk journaled around it. So I coloured this circular border instead with my KJ Design by Karen metallic watercolours, and I'm actually really liking how you can still see the gold shimmer spray from Kaiser Craft peeking through the white acrylic background too. So you can see that KJ Design by Karen paint in golden is stunning. As you can see, I use that quite a lot, but hopefully you can still see the gold spray coming through that background too from my first attempt at fixing this page. And I like the background actually. It kind of gives that sort of marbling effect, especially when you like catch it on the right angle and you can see like the gold shimmery paints through there too. Now I am actually now happy enough with this page that I can leave it alone. It's not the best page I've coloured, it's not my favourite page, but that is okay. I am now happy with the end result and I can move on and put this page out of my mind finally. So that is all the pages I have to show you for February. So now on to some stats. I'll move this out of the way. So it's my planner here from Amanda Colours. Now, shall I pop this out? That is going to give us this annoying glare. Pop it out of its cover. Okay, so where am I? Nope, wrong month, Karen. Where are we? Here we are. Okay, so this month I have completed 2 buddy colours. I don't really do prompts or challenges, so that's always going to be at a 0, so I'll skip past that from now on. I completed 7 pages this month from 7 different books, and 2 of them were untouched, which were the new books from Kirby and Mel Pimenti. So I still currently only have 1 untouched book in my collection, which is still the Mythographic Vault book that I need to do some work in. Now, I did rework that 8th page from Reader's Land book, but I haven't included it in any of the statistics because it was already a completed page from last year or many years ago. So on Instagram, I started the month with 15,605 subscribers and finished with 15,939, which is an increase of 334. And on my Facebook page, I started the month with 4,427 followers and ended the month with 4,478, which is an increase of 51. And the Facebook group here, we ended with 7,727 in our Facebook group, which is an increase of 236 members in February. And lastly here on YouTube, I started the month with 33,212 subscribers and ended with 34,010, which is an increase of 798. Now, this also includes a plans for next month section. I don't use it as I actually use the prompts and challenges pages here because they have the check boxes next to it and I can tick them off when they're completed. So for the month of March, I will be starting to get to all your video requests from the post I put up on Instagram at the beginning of the year, asking you guys what you'd like to see on the channel for this year. There were quite a few requests there and I am going to be working my way through them. If anyone has any other suggestions for what they'd like to see on the channel, other than the usual color alongs, of course, let me know down below. I'm always open to your suggestions and what I can do to provide you the content that you want on this channel. So that's it for February. I'm ready to get stuck into March and my plans video will be coming soon. There are some exciting things coming. Let me know down below what your favourite page was from this month. I would love to know your thoughts. And on that note, I hope everybody as well have a great month. Happy colouring and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.